Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have all experienced the instability and uncertainty of coups in recent years, impacting their political landscapes and raising concerns for the future. While the specific details and motivations for these coups differ in each country, they highlight a common struggle with political stability and a yearning for change. These three countries have been working together, and most recently decided to take bold steps that have left France and other Western oppressors bewildered. We are going to be telling you about the strategic moves that these countries have made that have gotten the West worried. One of these moves was one of the main reasons why Western powers plotted and took out Gaddafi. We are also going to see some leaders in Africa who shared this same idea but couldn't realize it. So, what are these three Sahel countries working on? The military general of Niger stated on national television that his country, together with Mali and Burkina Faso, is considering forming a political and monetary alliance. This development could signal a wider breach with the West African regional bloc. Niger's General Abdourahmane Tiani did not give a timeline or details about the project, but said it was one of the reasons for his recent visit to both countries. These three neighboring states are all ruled by military leaders who have seized power in coups since 2020. This has put them at odds with the rest of the economic community of West African states, the region's main political and economic bloc, which is urging them to return to democratic rule. The West African CFA franc, which is pegged to the euro and is viewed by some as a holdover from French colonial authority, is the currency now used by these three countries, as well as 5 others in the region. A new currency and withdrawal from the 8-member West African Monetary Union would further isolate Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, who have dubbed their new alliance the Alliance of Sahel States. Earlier this month, the foreign ministers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger approved plans to form a confederation of the 3 West African nations to bolster security and foster development in various sectors. The 3 countries have already taken steps to deepen their cooperation, including signing a mutual defense pact in September 2023. This pact obliges the countries to protect and fight for each other in case of any invasion from other countries. This mutual defense pact came about because the coups threatened to intervene militarily in Niger after former French ally Mohamed Bazoum was ousted. Remember that the idea of a new currency isn't a new thing in Africa. Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi was assassinated while preparing to launch an African currency called the gold dinar that was to be backed by substantial gold stockpiles. Many people argue that Gaddafi was taken out because this new currency would have threatened the economic interests of other nations. We have a video on our channel that talks more about Gaddafi's gold dinar and why he was taken out for it. We've added the link in the description below. Make sure you watch it too. Muammar Gaddafi and Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah also led fierce campaigns to establish the United States of Africa under the leadership of a common African government with one army, one currency, and one capital. His unwavering faith in Africa's unity and coherence as a catalyst for the continent's development was unmatched, but the West's self-serving interests and the strong resistance of African leaders, the majority of whom feared losing their sovereignty, prevented his goal from ever coming to pass. No one else has made the case for continental integration more forcefully or with a greater sense of drama than Nkrumah. Although most African leaders regard the whole idea of a United States of Africa as wholly unattainable in the foreseeable future, Nkrumah, even after death, has kept the debate alive through his books and the continuing influence of his ideas. Nkrumah spoke and wrote about neocolonialism, and we are seeing truly that the neocolonialists are present and active in Africa. How can you explain that France produces and controls the currency that is being used by 14 African countries? Some other African leaders who advocated for a united Africa include Gamal Abdel Nasser of Egypt, Julius Kambarage Nyerere of Tanzania, Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso, and Patrice Lumumba of the Congo. Patrice Lumumba and Thomas Sankara were both assassinated despite dedicating themselves to the vision of a united and prosperous Africa. The decision to establish a new currency involves weighing the potential benefits and risks. With their currency, the 3 countries could adjust interest rates, exchange rates, and other monetary policy tools to address their specific economic challenges, such as inflation, unemployment, or stimulating specific sectors. They would no longer be subject to the monetary policy decisions of the European Central Bank, which influences the West African CFA franc and may not always align with their individual economic goals. A shared currency could significantly simplify and reduce the costs of trade between the three countries, fostering greater economic cooperation and integration. By creating a larger economic zone with a single currency, the countries could leverage their combined resources and bargaining power in the global marketplace, potentially improving their trade terms and access to international markets. While the potential benefits are significant, it is crucial to recognize that the success of establishing a new currency depends on careful planning and implementation. Establishing a new central bank, monetary authority, and financial infrastructure requires significant resources, expertise, and coordination among the three countries. The switch to a new currency could lead to short-term economic disruptions and uncertainty, requiring effective communication and mitigation strategies. However, a shared currency could be a powerful tool for promoting economic growth, regional integration, and long-term development for Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Other African countries that are still under the parasitic French policies must follow the steps of these three countries and work towards a common currency for all of Africa. This will allow us to tailor their policies to address their unique economic needs and challenges. It also mitigates the influence of international financial institutions and potentially lessens the impact of external economic fluctuations. While all this is going on, the West African heads of state officially recognized the junta in power in Niger on December 10, but said their sanctions to reverse the July coup in the country would remain even as they initiate steps for a short period of transition to civilian rule. The recognition of the military government by the 15-member bloc ends hopes of any immediate reinstatement of French ally, former President Mohamed Bazoum, who was deposed amid a surge of coups across West and Central Africa, where there have been 8 military takeovers since 2020. The 15-member bloc's endorsement of the military's rule dashes hopes for Mohamed Bazoum, the overthrown president of Niger, to be immediately reinstated. There have been 8 military takeovers in West and Central Africa since 2020, with several failed coup attempts. Bazoum will be forced to sit back and watch his country develop without the influence of his French allies. In fact, Niger is now considered by many as the 4th fastest growing economy in the world since after the July 26 coup and their expulsion of France. Niger also increased its uranium price by 400%, escaping French exploitation. Mali and Burkina Faso, ruled by the military who seized power in coups in 2020 and 2022 respectively, rushed to back Niger's military rulers when they ousted elected President Mohamed Bazoum in July. Now they are working hand in hand in every step, from a mutual defense pact to forming a confederation and now creating a common currency. The coups in these countries were followed by anti-France protests and resentment. In fact, Mali and Burkina Faso have removed French as their official language. The three countries all kicked out French ambassadors and French troops present in their countries. Mali even reported France to the United Nations Security Council for sponsoring terrorism in Mali. However, the UN Security Council has never done anything about it. Many suspect that the UN's silence on the matter is a sign that the oppression of African states is a well-calculated act. This also explains why some African countries like Mali, the Democratic Republic of Congo, have sent all UN peacekeeping out of their countries. Niger and Burkina Faso also expelled top UN officials to their countries. In fact, a UN drone was intercepted in the DRC carrying gold, weapons, and parachutes. Africans are waking up to the conspiracies of Western powers and some of these organizations that mean no good for the continent. This explains why the military leaders of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have sided more with Russia's Vladimir Putin and entering into defense pacts with Russia. The foreign ministers of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have recommended the creation of a confederation as part of the long-term goal of uniting the West African neighbors within a federation. They created a pact, the Alliance of Sahel States, setting up closer economic ties and mutual defense assistance if the sovereignty or territorial integrity of a member is threatened. During this two-day meeting, the foreign ministers spoke of the great potential for peace, stability, diplomatic strength, and economic development that a strengthened political alliance offers. No details have been given yet on the structure of the proposed confederation and how it will work, but confederation and common currency sound like great ideas for these Sahel states. These countries are aligned to protect themselves from the West. Niger kicked France out of their country after heavy protests. French President Emmanuel Macron's decision to withdraw from Niger signaled the beginning of the end of France's parasitic influence in Africa. For more than 2 months, Macron took a defiant stance, ignoring the ultimatum set by the military leaders in Niger. France refused to engage with the military leaders or move on with their demands to remove French troops, and ambassadors stationed in the country to fight terrorism. Fight terrorism in quotes. France had to give in because the Niger military stopped all food supplies to the French embassy in Niamey and cut water and electricity supply to the embassy. Macron later announced that France would gradually withdraw its 1,500 soldiers by the end of the year. France's ambassador, who had been living under quasi-house arrest in the capital Niamey, also left Niger in shame. Mali and Burkina Faso also kicked France out of their countries and gave another blow by removing French as their national language. Mali and Niger revoked tax cooperation treaties with France on December 5th. 96.9% of the votes in a June 18 referendum signaled that French is no longer the official language in Mali. French is now considered the working language, and the 13 national languages spoken in the country have received official language status. Just like Mali, the Burkina government adopted a bill in early December, revising the constitution, enshrining national languages as official languages in place of French, which was relegated to the rank of working language. Since Captain Ibrahim Traoré came to power, Burkina Faso has moved away from France, a former colonial power and historic partner, while moving closer to Moscow. Burkina Faso and Niger have also announced their withdrawal from the G5 Sahel Force, a regional anti-jihadist coalition that was set up in 2014 with the support of France. The two countries have joined Mali, which also quit the G5 last year after a military coup, in forming a new alliance of Sahel States that aims to enhance their security and development. These three countries are constantly firing France, and we can see that they are doing it together. Mali dropped French as their national language, and months later, Burkina Faso has done the same. This only means that Niger too is preparing to do so as well. Now they're planning a confederation and a common currency. What is their plan? Let us know what you think in the comments. It is not surprising to hear that the military governments of Mali and Niger said that they were rejecting their agreements of double taxation with France, thereby deepening their deteriorating relations and severing their links with the French capital. The administrations of the two Sahelian nations said in the statement that France's ongoing hostility toward their states and the uneven character of agreements had cost Mali and Niger a significant amount of money. Bear in mind that these countries have not attacked France alone. They have attacked the UN and EU as well. In a video posted on social media, Mali's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Abdoulaye Diop, insisted that everything needed to be done to ensure the work of UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, known as MINUSMA, is ended by December 31. He went further to say the government does not foresee any extensions of this deadline. MINUSMA was established by the UN Security Council in April 2013 to stabilize the country, following a rise in insurgency in 2012, but according to the military leaders, this has not been the case. The MINUSMA forces have handed over all their camps to the Mali military already. Mali also reported France to the UN, but nothing was done about it. Mali said that France attempted to destabilize the West African nation in 2017 by violating its airspace and arming Islamist extremists. Abdoulaye Diop claimed in a letter to the head of the UN Security Council that more than 50 airspace violations occurred in Mali in 2017, most of which were committed by French forces employing drones, armed helicopters, and fighter jets to deliver weapons to terrorists. Despite these complaints, the UN has never done anything about it. Remember that the UN was quiet when there was a genocide going on in Rwanda that was influenced by France. Many Africans wonder what good the UN is to Africa when it closes its eyes to Africa's pertinent problems that the West perpetuates. Niger's military leaders also demanded that a top United Nations official there leave the country within 72 hours over accusations that Niger was excluded from the annual UN General Assembly in New York in September. Consequently, the government ordered UN Resident Coordinator Louise Aubin to leave the country. You can watch the video about this on our channel. We all are witnesses to the different things that have been happening in these countries. Are the leaders of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali's lives in danger as they've been coming for France? This could be possible because former leaders like Sankara, Lumumba, Gaddafi, and Sylvanus Olympio were killed for similar moves. Attempts were made on Nkrumah's life. Take note that attempts have been made to take out Ibrahim Traoré. We have a video on our channel that talks more about this. A link has been attached to this video. Make sure you watch it too. It will be good for Guinea to join this alliance these three countries are forming. This way, Guinea's voice could be amplified on the international stage through the alliance. Guinea should not be the only country to join this alliance. All former French colonies should do the same and make Africa great. In fact, let Africa unite. Bob Marley was wise enough to have sang about African unity. The decision to adopt a new currency is a bold one that comes with both opportunities and challenges. While the process will be complex and there are significant risks involved, the potential rewards are substantial. Ultimately, the success of this initiative will depend on the political will of the three countries, their ability to manage the transition effectively, and the support they receive from the international community. If these countries can overcome the challenges, a new currency could be a powerful tool for economic development and regional integration in West Africa. It could also serve as an inspiration for other countries seeking to break free from the constraints of the past and build a more prosperous future. Do you think other countries will follow the steps of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video that shows you how Burkina Faso's Messiah Ibrahim Traoré gives France a big blow to the face.